ThunderCatzent.
Hey guys, how's it going? Ezekiel the Barber back with another video for you. We'll go ahead and get right into the video, starring a really great client, really good guy right here. I'm using the Andis cordless clipper. Now this is a cordless trimmer clipper, so I'm setting my first guideline. Now the haircut that we'll be doing today is a mid-bald fade. This client actually likes to go mid to high. Now in some of my previous videos, whenever I start my guideline, you would see me do like a drop, sort of like a graduation, where that guideline kind of extends below the occipital bone. But in this case, this client normally likes his haircut to almost go straight back, everything pretty much even, with a very slight drop in the back. So that's basically what I'll be doing here. Now this guideline, I'll just basically do this from left to right, everything even. So I'm just doing this all the way around. So that's exactly what you see me doing here. Now anytime you get around the ear, you always want to make sure you pull that ear, keep that out of harm's way. Definitely a good safety precaution. I'm just going to continue on with that guideline. Alright. So everything's looking pretty good here. I just want to make sure that my guidelines are, pretty even. Everything is pretty clean. So I just want to go around, clean up everything, any areas that I see that may not be even. I just want to make sure that everything is nice and bald. So that's basically what I'm going for here. Really love these Andis cordless trimmers. They definitely, as you can see, do a really good job carrying that hair off almost effortlessly. So, okay, next up we're gonna go to the Wahl 5-star Senior 100th Anniversary Cordless Clipper. Really good clipper. So this is gonna be our next guideline. So what I'm doing here is basically opening that lever all the way up. That's the farthest away from the steel blade. That's gonna give us the equivalent to almost a 1 guard. So as you can see there, that guideline is giving almost like a shadow look. I'm just gonna do that all the way around, just like I did with the last guideline. Just literally go all the way around. Now this is my system. This is just a system that I chose to show you all, kind of simplify things to how to create this cut. I've seen people fade and do haircuts many type of ways, but this is just a way for me that really makes sense. It's just creating a system for you. Okay, so as you can see, once I create the guideline, I'm just gonna bump out that bottom line that you see. So that dark line that you see on the bottom, I just wanna bump that out. Now the way that I bump that out is once I have that lever all the way open, setting the first guideline, then I wanna go back and attack the bottom line by just literally closing that lever up and attacking the bottom line as you see me doing now. And that's the bottom line. So I start with a open lever, creating the guideline, and then I go back and close the lever and attack the bottom line to fade it in. That's how you basically kind of create the fade. That's how you create that transition. Right. So I'll basically do this all the way around. I'll set the guideline with the open lever. I'll take the bottom line out with a closed lever. You always want to make sure that you use a nice comb. Keep all the hair kind of brushed out, all the hair and debris that can kind of get stuck inside the hair. Now one thing about cutting hair is that, clients will have, some clients will have greasy scalps or gel or what have you, which sometimes it makes the hair stick to, stick to the scalp when you're trying to fade. So if you don't have something that's constantly brushing down to kind of see what you're doing, you could be taking more hair off than you need to. So that's why as a barber, you have to constantly clean your palette, make sure you're creating a nice clean guideline. So now as you see here, I put on the #1 wall guard. I'm creating that next guideline. So I just wanted to put that guard on, open that lever up, and then literally go about 1 inch up all the way around, just as I've done the previous guidelines. So I'll go about 1 inch up, start working that into the top. Now you don't want to go too high. Now once I create this guideline, once again, I'm just gonna close that lever up on the clipper and attack the bottom line. Now you don't want to go too high, very important. Okay, so here I'm going to the number 2 guard. I know it says a Wahl guard, and I actually have a Babylis guard on, but that's one of the benefits of, you know, these interchangeable guards, Babylis and Wahl. I really like that, the fact that, I mean, they're literally interchangeable. So you don't have to go slap on another 2 guard just to, you know, create that same guideline. Perfect. Okay, so now that lever is all the way open with that 2 guard. Now I'm taking that not all the way high into the top of his hair, but I'm just going straight up. I don't want to dig in. Now, whenever I have that lever all the way open, it gives me a little bit more room for error. If that lever was all the way closed, it's less room for error. So I like to start with all my guidelines with that lever all the way open first, and then I'll go back and, you know, once again bump out the bottom line with the closed lever. So in this case, I'm using that 2 guard in what's called the parietal ridge area. Once again, that's the parietal ridge. That's where the head transitions from the side to the top. So from the side of the head to the top of the head, where you see his hair extending towards the back, kind of in the area that I am in now, that's near the parietal ridge area. So right in that area, right there, that's the parietal, right in there, that's the parietal ridge area. So yeah, once again, I'll just basically work that guard straight up. I don't want to dig in. Eventually, I'll do what's called a clipper over comb technique. And we'll make that transition a lot smoother going in from the side to the top. But right here with this 2 guard, I just want to use that straight up. Now, if I wanted his hair to pop out, I would kind of use what's called a C-stroke technique. Maybe we'll do that on another video. But for the sake of this video and showing you how I achieve this haircut, this is exactly how you do it. Okay, so now we're back to the number 1 guard, the Wahl guard. Now, I like to close the lever up, do any cleanup work, attack any dark lines. Now, wherever I use any guard, I basically want to use that guard back in that same region. So for instance, if I use a no clip on the lower portion of his head, I want to go back and clean up his haircut with that no clip again, just to make everything smooth. If I use a 1 guard, like in the area that I'm in now, I want to go back with that 1 guard and kind of, you know, make things a lot smoother. Now, sometimes as a barber, you'll jump over guards. In this case, that's what I did. I went from a 0 clip, which was a stubbly bald look, all the way to a 1 guard, skip clean over the 0 guard. So it's pretty much a good case once the haircut is just about done to go back to the guards that I skipped over. For instance, there's a 0 guard that I skipped over and a 1.5 guard. So I like to kind of go back and use those guards in lower regions that I probably would have used it to save myself some steps in the long run. It also saves me time by doing this as well. So once again, this is some of those barber secrets that we do use in the barbershop. I'm sure people who are, you know, looking to cut hair definitely want to know some of the secrets on how to achieve faster haircuts and still get that clean look. And this is basically how we do it. Okay, so now I'm using the Andis Masters cordless clipper. For years we were subject to using the Andis Masters corded clipper, which was a legendary clipper, definitely iconic clipper. But when they created the Andis Masters cordless clipper, it was essentially the same thing, same blade, just cordless, and it still gave you that same clean cut. So I definitely love this clipper. Some barbers use this for their entire haircut. I like to use this clipper more as a finishing clipper. As you can see right now, I'm using a combination of opening and closing my clipper. With a closed master, you're gonna get a 000, which is that stubbly bald look that we get towards the bottom. With a open master clipper, when that lever is all the way open, it's gonna give you the equivalent to a 1 guard or a 1 in length. So that's why I love this clipper. Another brilliant thing about this clipper is they put little notches on this clipper to where if you're looking for that triple, you know, you close that clipper up, it'll show you the notch. If you need to find in between a 1, which is a half, that 0.5, all you have to do is put that lever halfway. So I really love this clipper. It makes it easy for going back to whatever length that you need, and you know, finding that length almost effortless. All right, so I'm just polishing the haircut up. There's no guard on the clipper right now. Once again, just using a combination of opening and closing the clipper. Since this is a bald fade, the closer that I am to the baldness of his fade, I just want to use that clipper with the lever all the way closed just to kind of clean everything up. The more I am to the area where I use that 1 guard, I just want to open that clipper. Now, I'm never going to go too hard or too high wherever I use that 2 guard or that 1.5 guard, because then that basically is going to take the fade up. So I just want to use this clipper wherever I use the 000 or that 1 max. Now if I put a guard on, then that gives me the clearance to be able to go into the zones where I, you know, use those previous guards. Okay, cool. So next it looks like we're going to be working on the top, little shear work. So I like to start by putting a little water in the hair. Now you can do this wet or dry. A lot of times it makes it easier to find the guideline and keep the hair together when you do it wet. So I like to give my client the mirror. They tell me where to cut. I'll, you know, pull my hair end up until I find about the amount that they want off. Once I find that guideline, I'll just follow that same guideline all the way around like so. I'll take a portion of the guideline, a portion of the hair that hasn't been cut, and then I'll literally just merge that together. So a portion of the guideline, a portion of the hair that hasn't been cut it off. Portion of the guideline, portion of the hair that hasn't been cut, there it is. Portion of the hair, portion of the guideline that hasn't been cut, merge it together. Portion of the hair that has been cut, hair that hasn't, merge it together. Portion of the hair that has, hair that hasn't been cut, merge it together. I basically want to do this all the way around. Now, it is a good idea to always cross-check your work, sort of like a cross, reference, just to make sure that your work is that much more on point and everything is that much more even. So here I'm still finding the guideline, getting a portion of the hair that hasn't been cut, and merging those together. Cool, and this is basically exactly how I do it. So I just kind of wanted to give the viewer that up close and personal view of exactly how I achieve these haircuts. And let's face it, I mean, every haircut that you do is not going to be that competition style haircut. These clients want what they want. They come back to you providing that you're gonna give them that look. And so that's basically, what I like to achieve. So the clipper over comb technique that I told you about earlier, this is basically it, where I merge the side of the head into the top of the head, right around that parietal ridge area. And that parietal ridge area, this is that exact area right here, where your head goes from the side, curves into the top. So the clipper over comb technique allows me to chisel and merge that haircut from the side right into the top, just the way I like it. If I wanted it to pop out, then I would insinuate that with the comb, and I would have to do that all the way around. Whatever you do on the right, you want to do on the left, and vice versa. So in this case, I want to insinuate a straight up look, not a pop out or a blowout, which you call a blowout look. So I just want to go straight up with my comb, and whatever sticks outside of that comb, just literally cut it off. And that's basically it. So as you can see, a little hair falling off, just chisel away at it, You don't have to take too much off at one time. It's better to just kind of take a little off until you get the hang of it. But it's just like anything else, just like riding a bike. Once you get it, you got it. All right, as you can see, still kind of giving that straight up look. Now, right now I'm going back to that 2 guard. I'll eventually go to the 1.5 guard, as I told you, since I skipped over that, just to kind of make the fade that much more cleaner. And with the 1.5 guard, I'll use that guard slightly under the 2 guard, because that's basically where I would have used that guard, setting that guideline. Now this too just allows me to kind of make things a little bit cleaner. Even though I did do the clipper over comb, I still want to use this 2 guard just to kind of clean things up a little bit more. And it looks like it definitely is making it a little bit more smoother. You always want to comb out any hair just to kind of make sure that whatever hair you cut is gone. Hair does have static electricity, so you always want to make sure that you comb any hair or debris away just to make sure that hair is really gone. Alright, so it looks like we're back to the Andis Masters clipper using that 1 guard. Basically here I'm just doing a combination of opening and closing the clipper and just, you know, smoothing out the haircut a little bit more. You don't have to go hard, nice and smooth. And I'm using that 1 guard in the region that I use the 1 guard. You know, if I needed to use the 0 guard, which is slightly in the region lower than that 1 area, then I'll use that 0 guard a little bit lower than where I'm using the 1 guard now. And then, you know, when you do that, that just kind of gives that transition a smoother blend. Now, this client in particular has really good thick hair, so in order for his hair to cooperate a little bit better, it's a really good call to use thinning shears or texturizing shears. Pretty much the same thing. So that's basically what you see me doing here. Now, really important, as you see here, I'm using a comb. I'm keeping the comb in between the client and the shears, just to make sure that those shears don't get too close to the client's scalp. You don't want to, you know, cut them or anything like that. So that's just kind of like a protective precaution, if I may. Alright, so we'll just do that all the way around. Now, sometimes you can get lower if they have really thick hair. Sometimes you can just do the tips. In this case, I'm going about halfway. Just to kind of, I know that his hair is really thick, so to kind of give him length of days on this haircut and make that hair kind of cooperate a little bit more, I just think it's a good idea to go about halfway. Now, sometimes if you do it too much, you can kind of insinuate sort of like a bald look. So you never want to do it too much or too many haircuts back to back. Another good idea is once you're done texturizing is to get a thinner comb than you used previously to get any loose hairs that may be caught or stuck in the hair. So a lot of times when you thin the hair out, there will be hairs that'll be stuck in there. So you always want to make sure you get as, you know, many hairs out as possible. So a lot of times I like to get a thinner comb than I, you know, use for doing the thinning or texturizing technique, and then just get a blow dryer and blow that hair out. Pull out as much hair as possible. Basically until I don't see any more hair coming off or on the comb. Alright, everything looks pretty good there. So a lot of times on this client in particular, I like to, you know, right in that parietal ridge area, see if he wants me to go a little tighter. A lot of times he'll tell me, you know, can we just go a little tighter right in that area? And exactly that's what's going on here. So it's just, you know, I'll grab my clipper, my comb, do a little clipper over comb work just to take off any of that ledge that he didn't want there. You know, it's always a work in progress, just like life. So, you know, you just kind of have to make it to their liking, always chisel at the haircut, make everything as smooth and as even as you can. And And that's basically what I'm attempting to do here. He's telling me, you know, specific areas that he's concerned about, and I'm just attempting to shoot for those and make it as smooth as possible, make it right. As a barber, when they sit in your chair, they are your boss. That's, you know, that's how it goes. They pay you, you don't pay them. All right, so we'll just continue this cleanup. You know, just kind of look over the haircut from left to right, make everything even. Whatever I do on the left, I like to do on the right. Just try to make it right. Always want to use a mirror for a good, you know, second opinion. Definitely gonna give you, you know, that real. Mirror definitely lets you know if you have more work to do or not. Thank God for the mirrors. So right here, the technique that you see me doing is like what's called a freehand technique. I don't really recommend it unless you've, you know, had, you know, quite a bit of experience with clippers. You definitely have to have a steady hand. I would always recommend the safe bet is clipper over comb would be recommended rather than a freehand technique. But if you have a really sturdy hand, who am I to tell you not to do that? Seriously. Some really good barbers out there. All right. So basically, once again, I'm just doing some polish up work with the Andis Masters clipper. Sorry about that view there. We'll go ahead and get that right. There we go. Just polishing up the haircut a little bit. Right now I'm using that zero guard in the region that I would have used the zero guard. So I'm just using that, you know, in that transition from bald to that one guard. Just like I said I was gonna do. And as you can tell, it does kind of smooth things out a little bit better. So that's why it's so important. I mean, you don't really want to jump clean over the steps, but in this case, sometimes it's not all the way required to go through, you know, all the steps from 0 all the way to 2. That would have been a lot more time, a lot more work, when you can still get a really clean fade, you know, doing it this way. So right here I'm using the Babylis cordless trimmers. Really love these trimmers. They have kind of like the T-edger blade, kind of lets you get in those grooves. Really powerful trimmer. I'm using this for basically cleanup work. Make sure I'm pulling that ear anytime I get near those ears or behind the ears. Just using this to basically clean everything up. Using the hair duster, keep any hair off of them. So here's the before. Come back for his regular touch-up cut. Boom, bald. Mid-fade with the slight drop. Little texturized shear work on top. Normally, this client just goes home, showers up. That's what he basically says he's gonna do in this case. So no product needed. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.